Staton. Gosh, the wheel of the year has turned. The rain is sheeting in outside. It is so dark, it feels like the dawn will never come. But come it will. Thank you for joining me here for stories once more. I was so taken aback by many of the kind messages that were left after the last video. It means the world to me that people are out there enjoying these tales. So, today, as Calan Gaeaf Halloween approaches, we have another ghostly tale for you. Another dark tale. Another tale that will have you looking over your shoulder to see if any spirits are there. But fear not. The world is still a strange place. But know, my friends, for just a few moments each week, you are welcome here to join me at the time between times, where for just a little while you can forget about your cares. You can forget about your worries. You can forget about what's going on all over the world and sit around the fireplace and listen to a tale traditionally told by me. Thank you. So, if you can, sit back, relax, close your eyes even if you can, and it's safe to do so. And join me at the time between times. The time it is neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. Time when the veil between our world and the fairy world grows really, really wafer thin. So thin that for just a few moments you can reach out with your hand and reach into their realm, and for a few moments they can reach back and influence our lives with stories and tales. Now is the time that people see lights that shine in the sky. Now is the time that people see the Tylwyth Teg. Now is the time that people see ghosts. So let us go back to the turn of the 19th century, to the dark heart of Wales, the great and beautiful and terrible and wonderful county of Powys, a place I know well, a place where my heart often lies, but a place where the hairs on the back of my neck will often stick up when I think of the tales that have occurred there over the years. Today, we head on a winding track near Welshpool to a place called Powis Castle. But before we do, take that winding path through the forest. Stop thinking about all the things that are bothering you and look up at the great trees that stretch to the sky and have stretched to the sky for hundreds of years. They have been here, seen it, done it, and still they're there. But even they are small in the turning of the world. Walk down the winding path until you come to the fire pit. There is a crowd here today, but all of them are friendly. They greet you with hugs and handshakes and taps on the back. And then you take your place, sitting next to the glowing embers of the fire pit. And then you look up, and it is neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. Here we are, at the time between times. Many years ago, there was a poor maid called Mair who was a weave spinner. She used to gather hemp and spin it together, looking for work wherever she could. Her family were poor. She had no coin. So she went to Powis Castle, where they employed such spinners to make hemp for faraway London. Lord Powys did not spend much time in the castle, but he made sure that the people who worked there were looked after in a strange sort of way. Mair walked up the path towards Powys Castle. The clouds were just starting to get grey. There was chill in the air. She looked up, and for a fleeting moment the dark stone castle looked like a half-buried skull against the horizon, and a chill went down her back. But she had to go on. She walked forward to the great wooden door. There torches burned on either side. Night was starting to fall. She could see flickering candles in the window. She was greeted by the foreman, who welcomed her, for they were in need of new spinners. He said that she would have a nice room, but she must never leave it after dark. He took her down an old corridor lined with paintings of lords gone by. For a second, Myra seemed to think their eyes were following her, till they came to a wooden door, which the foreman opened and bade her to step inside. As she did so, she was amazed. Here was a brightly furnished room with a four-poster bed and a single candle burning by the window. She turned round to thank the foreman, but the door had been shut behind her with a bang. She heard the bolt being locked. This was strange. But maybe this is just what they did here. Myra sat on her bed, brought out her Bible, started to read, started to pray. She prayed for a new life here. She prayed to be safe. She prayed that she would be able to take money back to her family not far away. And as the night grew dark, just the candle burnt low, she fell asleep on the four-poster. Around midnight, she knew it was so, for she heard a clock far away chime 12 times. She woke up with a start. Something was stood at the foot of her bed. She opened her eyes and looked. And there, unmistakably, was a figure of a man, as dark as a shadow's shadow. He turned around and looked at her. He wore a gold-brimmed hat and a long coat, and looked like he was not of this time, her time. He looked as if he wanted to speak, but his eyes were as deep as the ocean and looked as old as the mountains. Myra was terrified. She brought the blankets up to her eyes and then hid. Opened her eyes again, and he had gone. She immediately thought that this was the room they had given her, for it was haunted, and the next day, as soon as that door was open, she would leave this place. Terrified though she was, she soon fell asleep once more, but an hour later was awoken again. And this time, the man was stood by the window looking out. Now the sky was just starting to grey outside, and the light flickered from him, and she saw that his hair was long. He had a sword at his belt, and he turned and looked at her again, went to speak, but then walked away through the door without opening it and vanished. A third time she went to sleep, knowing again that if the spirit attended, she would then awaken and speak to him this time. And come he did, stood at the bottom of her bed. This time she summoned all her courage and spoke. "What is it you want from me, spirit? What is it you want me to do?" When he spoke, his voice sounded like a church bell ringing far away, like the sound of a flag fluttering in the breeze. "Take the candle at the side of the bed and follow me, please. No matter what you fear, I will protect you." The spirit walked again through the door, but this time she heard the bolt unlatch, and with a creak the door opened slowly. Terrified though she was, Myra got up, picked up the candle, and followed the spirit. Although the floorboards creaked, although the pictures looked at her, she followed the spirit down the corridor, into the great hall with its paintings looking high. Darkness everywhere, suits of armour appeared from the darkness. He opened another door. This door was the thing of nightmares inside. All around the walls, the heads of animals peered down, their glassy eyes flickering in the candlelight. There was stag, there was boar. She thought she saw a bear. And there in the centre of the floor was a tiger skin rug, its head open, its mouth as if to bite. The spirit beckoned to the floor and the tiger, and Meyer stepped over. Move the rug. Underneath you will find a loose floorboard. Pick it up. Meyer did as the spirit bade, picked up the tiger by its fur and pushed it past, its teeth just brushing against her hand. There was the loose floorboard. She opened it and placed her hand down, reaching as far as she could go. She felt spiders running along her hand. She felt webs being broken. But then at the bottom there was a box. She lifted up the box. She went to open it, but the spirit spoke to her. Do not open the box. Send it to Lord Powys. Only he can see what's inside. Now, I will never trouble this place again. With that, the spirit vanished. Meyer did not know what to do. She placed the tiger rug back, put the box under her arm, and looked around at the heads looking down at her, each of them seeming almost to grin in their stately silence. She turned around, ran back up the corridor, back to her room. Dawn was just starting to break. The next day she gave the box to a messenger and told the messenger what the spirit had said. The messenger said he would take it to Lord Powys in London, and that he did. Weeks later, Meyer was still in the room. The spirit had not been seen, but the messenger returned from Lord Powys. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, and said to Meyer, I don't know what was in that box, but your life has changed. He reached into his saddlebag and brought out a bag of gold coins. The Lord says, keep this and leave. There is a house for you on the edge of the land that he owns. You may live there as long as you want, in riches. Buy whatever you want, but tell nobody of the box. And so she did. She moved into a gamekeeper's lodge on the edge of the land owned by Lord Powys, and lived the rest of her days in luxury. What was in the box? No one knows. But it is said that when Lord Powys opened it, his face turned ashen white. His blood froze inside him. And seldom did he return to Powis Castle, the half-buried skull on the landscape of Powys. Meyer lived in happiness and never saw the spirit again. And that, my friends, is the tale of the ghost of Powis Castle. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed being with me here at the time between times. Please leave a nice comment so I feel like I'm not speaking to myself. Please like, subscribe. I'm not far off 400 followers now, 400 subscribers even. It's getting crowded around the fireplace, but that's how we like it. I also have a Ko-fi page if you wish to buy me a coffee. If you can, please do not feel like you have to. And I have more time between time badges arriving. They've been popular. People have enjoyed them. Thank you very much for listening. Halloween is almost upon us. Join me here next week, for another ghostly tale at the time between times. And thank you for voting on my poll. After the ghost stories are finished, we will go back to the Tylwyth Teg, but also tell some urban myths, and maybe also some tales from elsewhere, for you all seem to like everything I put up there. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. Take care. Nostra.